here because we just gotta we got some guys to talk about, guys that popped off, guys that didn't do well. We gotta talk about their performances and see what it is. And let's start out with Devon Achane. Achane. We kind of talked about it a little bit. 51. Okay, Fluke for real. I'm gonna say for real, but 51.3 is not for real. It is. This was just a very big showing of what he can do. Correct, Wes? Are you with me?
I'm 100% in agreement.
Okay.
He is this good, but I don't know how many more times he's going to get 30 points even.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. He is very good. So he instilling confidence in Devon Achane, but it is 51.3 will not happen again. And my goodness, if it does, just everyone quit the league because the Dolphins are going to win the next 10 Super Bowls. So if this, listen, sorry.
And
that's
never
how it's
lose.
Go. Yeah. Adam Thielen, 31.5 points. We talked about it a little bit. Fluke for real, Wes. I got some thoughts. I want to hear yours.
Oh, if Andy Dalton is under center, roll him out. Roll out any of these Panthers because we got two more Panthers we're talking about here.
Yeah.
This Panthers team looks great with a quarterback that has experience. So, and they're not going to continue to start Andy Dalton once Bryce Young is healthy. Just as an organization, of course, you have to play the number one pick overall. It's just the way that it goes. But this is the whole point we talked about with fantasy. Rookie quarterbacks do not help their wide receivers. I mean, if you don't mind, let's just talk about the next two as well.
Yeah, DJ Chark, 18.6 fantasy points. Fantastic call, by the way, because it was exactly the kind of play you talked about, too, is these deep ball touchdowns to DJ Chark.
Almost the same stat line that I said, too.
Yeah, 11 targets for him as well, so he was involved plenty. 4 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown. And then Miles Sanders, 17.2 fantasy points, 9 carries for 24 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Rushing touchdown at the end of the game did save him a bit, but that's how games work. Garbage time happens, and that's how things go.
And 9 targets for a running back.
9 targets. Yeah, that was my thing for having him. Me staking my ground as him to be a top 10 running back in fantasy. Is that I believe the PPR value is going to be there. And over the first few weeks, we've seen Chuba Hubbard play a role, and he's in the game at certain times, and he's being used when he's in the game. But he's only don't get worried about Chuba Hubbard. He's only at like a 30% snap share. Like, he is not in the game much. It's just frustrating if you're a Miles Sanders owner to be like, why is Howard in there? God, why did they pass it to him? That could have been a Miles Sanders target. Like, what are we doing here? And so you feel it a little extra there. I definitely do. I'm a Miles Sanders owner. But the Panthers offense seem to be playing better and having better fantasy performances behind Andy Dalton. Like we said, Bryce Young will come back and will play. He is the number 1 overall pick. Maybe this performance by this offense shows them a little bit more of how they can better utilize this team for Bryce Young. He gets a little bit of confidence. He can look at the tape with Andy Dalton and go, okay, how did you do that there? What did that look like? Andy Dalton is a smart guy. Bryce Young is also a smart guy and eager to learn. They will figure things out. And I think more days closer to this will come for the Panthers offense. I do believe this will be more of how we're seeing this play out. My panic level of Miles Sanders was starting to get up there a little bit, but I'm glad that we have this week. It was a good thing to see. So definitely a good sign there. Alexander Madison, baby. 17.5 fantasy points, 20 carries for... You do it, baby. You do it.
Alexander Madison! Let's fucking go!
Had to leave it to you, dude. Let's see, he was your stud for week 3 there, and he definitely had a great performance there. 17.5 fantasy points, instilled some confidence, nearly 5 yards per carry, 5 catches, 7 targets for 32 yards. We're going to have to see what the backfield looks like with Cam Akers. But Alexander Madison probably felt the pressure a little bit because he definitely put on a show and had his best game of the season. So it was good to see him do that. Oh, baby. Tank Dell. We were talking and getting excited about Nico Collins last week. Rightfully so. If I had to make a choice right now on who I would rather have for the rest of the year between Nico Collins and Tank Dell, I'm taking Tank Dell. This dude is freaking awesome. This dude is like defying all the odds. He was the poster boy for a clip we had earlier in the year where I was saying I don't trust this wide receiver class. They're too small. Tank Dell said, "I'll show you where to shove your small, and it's up your butt." Okay, so that's how that went. Because Tank Dell is killing it. 25.5.
Don't phrase it like that.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's welcome back to Fourth and Field Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there you go. Listen, 25.5 fantasy points for Tank Dell. 5 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown. Tank Dell is finding himself burning some of these corners, and he was doing it. He looked so good. It looked so natural. He was just killing it. And C.J. Stroud has the connection with him. Something about a rookie-to-rookie connection, I feel, which is why I was excited about Jonathan Mingo, which was why Mingo was a guy for me that I was like,
You're
Mingo
taking
could
the words out of my mouth.
I
love you.
This is rookie-to-rookie connection when these guys are growing together, learning the league together. Something special there. And Tank Dell, I think, is going to be a very special guy. And I feel like I had to put him on the trade block, and I have him in 3 leagues because I picked him up off the waiver wire because you told me to last week, Wes. And I'm like, well, he's just on the bench. Like I don't know what to do with him. But if he's going to keep chugging up 20-point games, like am I going to be starting Tank Dell over DK Metcalf at some point in the season? Like what are we doing here? Like this is just.
May I answer that question? Just to ponder this. Why give him to your opponent?
Right. That's also true. I mean,
unless you can get a masterpiece.
Right. You can have the fear of, well, what if he's going to have a huge game on my bench? Well, it's better that he's having a huge game on your bench than in your opponent's starting lineup. So, and then you have a great fill-in for a bye week if you got a bye week coming up or something like that. So, I threw him on the trade block, but I think I made a little bit of peace today when I was just looking at the stats. And I was going, yeah, no, he's the dude there in the receiver room.
He's good.
He's a good guy. Yeah, another good guy. Sam freaking Laporta. Oh my gosh, had his breakout game. 8 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. Huge touchdown. He's found himself wide open down the field. It was awesome. He is defying the odds when it comes to rookie tight ends in the league. And if there was one that was going to do it, we looked back at what T.J. Hawkinson had done on this offense and how there's really not a huge amount of pass catchers outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown and maybe Jahmyr Gibbs. Laporte is that dude, and he belongs in lineups. He is a top 10 tight end this season going forward, and there's no doubt about it. He's an every week starter. You got to have him in the lineup. Even when Jameson Williams comes back, he has developed the rapport, the trust. He's proved himself in the Lions offense. I love him. I love him
too. I believe he had 77 yards last week as well, if I'm not mistaken.
7 for 77, I believe. Yeah.
So this is him. This is how he plays. This isn't just a great tight end performance, and we're just going to try to evaluate, well, should we pick him up because the tight end position is a graveyard? No. This is back-to-back weeks of a solid performance, a winning performance for fantasy. He's the guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Love him very much.
We'll jump through a few more guys here just real quick on the good side of Fluke for real. DeAndre Swift is making a name for himself here because he is living up to the potential. We asked what if, and he is doing it. 14.8 fantasy points. This is for real. He split carries with Kenneth Gainwell. DeAndre Swift has 16 carries and 130 yards. Kenneth Gainwell had 14 carries for like 45 yards. So it's not like it's like they're both doing this. Gainwell will still have his weeks. He'll still be okay. He'll still be a flex play, maybe. I mean, it's something we probably got to look at if you're desperate. But DeAndre Swift is running away with this job, and he, while it may be a split backfield, he is definitely proving himself as the better running back for them. So we play a lot of game of what ifs on what if Kenneth Gainwell was healthy for week 2, and we just never saw Swift be unleashed, but we did, and so Swift is
the Brock Purdy question.
Swift is the better running back here for the Eagles. Jerome Ford in a matchup that we both thought maybe this isn't going to be the best one, and the box score shows you it wasn't. 10 carries for just 18 yards against the Titans. They did their job, but he fell in the end zone not once on a run, but he caught another one in the air. 19.1 fantasy points. I mean, Wes, we both said it. Even if they signed Kareem Hunt, Jerome Ford is the top running back, and this proved it. You know, short week for Kareem Hunt. We'll see more next week, but I picked up Kareem Hunt in a league, and I've got a waiver claim in to drop him for somebody else. I mean, I think it was just more of a let's see what happens here. Jerome Ford is going to be the guy, though, because in a game against a tough Titans defense, 19.1 fantasy points. Maybe that's the ceiling that we see. Maybe we don't see many more games above that mark, but he is definitely going to be a solid play in your lineups each week. And he's a starting running back in the NFL for a run-first team, I would say. So, Jerome Ford, I think he looked really good.
We'll see what happens with Hunt in the next week because he'll have a full week with the team and maybe he'll learn more of the playbook. And maybe the playbook is still very similar to what he remembered when he was with Stefanski last year. So it's probably not too much of a learning curve there. But it's so nice to know that even when Jerome Ford is stuffed for only 18 yards, he can still be a red zone target in the receiving game, which is huge. And this is part of the point that we were making about him being a dud. It's like he may have a bad game, but he's still going to be the guy. Don't trade him away or trade for him if he doesn't have a good game. But no, here he is. I've never been happier to be wrong about a dud because I thought it was just a 1 week dud. And I thought he was going to be for real. He is for real. This guy's good.
Looks good. A couple of Chiefs running backs here. Jerick McKinnon with 17.8 points. Clyde Edwards-Helaire with 12.7 points. Fluke. I'm calling Fluke on both of them.
Yeah.
It's Pacheco's backfield. Jerick McKinnon, guys, he had 5 touches. He had 5 touches in the game. 2 of them went for touchdowns. That's how that played out. That's
receiving.
That's how that played out. So that's his game. That's how he does it. And I don't think he's even worth a waiver ad, honestly. And I just think it's going to be – you're never going to start him confidently. You're going to be hoping that he does something. So Fluke for Jerick McKinnon, Fluke for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. 15 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown was all after the starters went out in this game. It was just the garbage time. It was the Mike White to Robbie Chosen kind of touchdown there. It was just not much going on. So a couple of flukes there. Last 3 here. Cortland Sutton with 19.1 fantasy points. I'm going to say for real because he is the top target. He is what we thought was going to happen last year. Jerry Jeudy is not involved. Like at all. He's non-existent on this offense. Very weird to see. So Cortland Sutton is, if you're going to start one of the Broncos receivers, it's going to be him. But you're not really feeling that great about it. So do what you want on that. I mean, I probably wouldn't if I didn't have to. So
also, keep in mind they had like 12 possessions. Because the team they played against scored 10 touchdowns and punted once and went for it on 4th down once. So that's a lot of drives.
Yeah.
So I don't know how often that's going to happen again. And the most...
Yeah.
That game was ridiculous.
That was insane. Last 2 here. 2 guys with pretty much the same stat line here. Calvin Austin with 15.2 points. Pharaoh Brown with 15.1 points. Calvin Austin, Pittsburgh Steelers, wide receiver. Pharaoh Brown, tight end for the Patriots, I believe. 3rd string tight end. Both of them had 2 catches for 71 and 72 yards and a touchdown. Flukes. There you go. That's pretty much what we got to say there. That's all there is to it. Few bad guys here, and these are bad guys. These are real bad guys. Couple of Bengals. Joe Burrow, 8.16 fantasy points, and T. Higgins, 4.1 fantasy points. The calf is restricting Joe Burrow. That is very clear. That is very clear. And so, Wes, I believe both of us are out on Joe Burrow. I saw you in a couple of leagues that we were in make some trades before before the Monday night game, before we got into the week last week, sending Joe Burrow away. We don't know how long this calf is going to linger. Clearly, he wants to play through it. Clearly, he did. He threw 49 passes. 8.16 fantasy points, though, is not great, and it was not the Joe Burrow that we've seen, not the Joe Burrow that can roll out of the pocket and extend a play, not the Joe Burrow that hits Jamar Chase for a deep pass for a touchdown. No, it was dink and dunk Joe Burrow because he didn't have much time because he couldn't move around a ton to make plays to, he just had a dink and dunk, 26 completions for 259 yards. It's less than 10 yards of completion.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's not great if you're a Joe Burrow owner. It's not great if you're a Bengals fan. The flip side and the silver lining of this is that we've seen, week one was a little strange, not to take away from the Browns defense, but week one was a little strange. There's a lot of rain. But week two, T. Higgins was the wide receiver 4. And week 3, Jamar Chase was the wide receiver 6. So Burrow can do enough to support one of these wide receivers at a time, it feels like. And you'd probably think more that often than not that'll end up being Jamar Chase.
I agree.
But this, last year before the season started, we said, hey, which team do you want the most shares of on your fantasy team? And it was the Cincinnati Bengals. And I want one share of one player, and it's Jamar Chase. And that's it, really. Jamar Chase had a 26-point week, I believe. Didn't score the touchdown. Obviously, he had it was 11 catches or something like that for 140 or somewhere around that area. It's difficult, and until Burrow is recovered here, it's gonna be hard to start anyone besides Jamar Chase in confidence. I guess that's where I'm at right now.
After the game, Joe Burrow was asked about his calf injury, and he said, I didn't suffer any setbacks. Except in fantasy. Except in the fantasy football world, my friend. This is your setback. You are rarely going to get 20 points if you have this calf strain. And
yeah.
I mean, the next player we're going to talk about is who I traded for, so I'm not stoked that I traded Burrow away. But this is for real. This is the way it's going to be for Burrow until they finally choose to rest him or until some miraculous healing process happens between Sunday games. And Jared, our friend from the start in the offseason that was saying he's going to start his very first fantasy football league and use the 4th and troll advice. He was reaching out to me, and for 3 weeks straight, he would just send me a message, friggin' Joe Burrow, and then week 2, friggin' Joe Burrow, and then he tells me, friggin' Joe Burrow, I dropped him.
No.
And I was like, yeah, you don't have to drop him, but you could maybe trade him or put him on your bench. But here's the thing. I mean, who are we to say, oh, what a terrible decision? Because look at this. Look how he's been playing terrible for fantasy.
That's so funny. No, that's
friggin' Joe Burrow.
I dropped him. That's how we're all feeling, Jared. I promise.
Oh
man, listen, that's a little bit of info on the Bengals. Hopefully, you guys can take something away from that. Guy you traded for here in a few leagues, Justin Fields, 12.6 fantasy points in a game where you're down 40 points. I'm expecting the quarterback of that team to have 50 pass attempts by the end of the game. To try and get yourself back into the game. Correct. Justin Fields, 22 passes thrown. 11 for 22, 50% completion, 99 yards and a touchdown, 1 interception. ran the ball 11 times for 47 yards. This was my worry with Fields, is that the leap in the passing game doesn't happen. And we're only 3 weeks in, but I don't know why this guy holds onto the ball as long as he does and doesn't get the ball, doesn't read his openings and his offensive opportunities.
Yeah.
I had a little glimmer of hope on the Chase Claypool touchdown in week 2 against Tampa, because he fit that pass in there like a freaking glove. It was all right, there you go. Feel like that's what we were hoping for. And you throw 22 balls in a game where you're down 40. It's what are we doing here? It's disappointing for a guy who was highly drafted like Justin Fields, a guy that we thought could make a leap and definitely have the capability to. I mean, I'm not a Bears fan. I'm not very close with very many Bears fans, but I've seen some Bears fans on Twitter just saying this organization just destroys quarterbacks. They just do not know how to coach quarterbacks, how to build them up, whatever it is. I've seen people saying that the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams next year. That they're going to move on from Fields that quickly, and just
they're on pace to be on the clock.
Yeah, it is disappointing if you're a Bears fan, and I'm sorry. I feel bad for Bears fans, for Justin Fields owners, for it's tough. It's a tough situation that we're watching play out here, and so.
Everything is set up for him to succeed. I mean, the whole offseason was so much that looked right. I mean, they invested in the offensive line. They got DJ Moore. You could see the way that Justin Fields played last year and the way he finished was okay, he is starting to emerge. I know the whole team kind of is falling apart and their defense isn't doing very well, but it's going against all expectations that we know of talented quarterbacks. Year 3 is when they hit. And the only pushback I'll have on this being for real, because let's be honest, this is for real. This is the way that Justin Fields is going to be until he has maybe one monster game. The only pushback I have is he still has that much of a rushing upside that he could still find his way into a 20-point game through in the fantasy football world, which is how we're viewing this lens. In fantasy football, he could rush for 50 yards and a touchdown, and that is a solid day for a running back. But then he's going to throw for a couple of yards as well, and that could be enough to help you not lose because of him, But this is bad. This organization is in shambles. It is a complete wreck right now.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. And listen, here is the one thing I'll say to close this out. If you are holding out hope for Justin Fields, he plays the Denver Broncos in week 4, who just got 70 dropped on the head. If there was a week that you were waiting on Justin Fields to be the top 3 fantasy quarterback you hoped he would, it's gonna be next week. If it doesn't happen next week, I'm so serious. You could drop him.
Pull a Jared.
Pull a Jared. You're friggin' Justin Fields. I dropped him. There you go. That's it. We should put that on a shirt. That's fantastic, actually. All right, we'll go through the last few here. Kareem Hunt.
Thanks for hanging with us, everyone.
Yeah, a lot to talk about. We frothed about the Dolphins. Thanks for hanging out. Kareem Hunt, 5.5 fantasy points. We talked about it already. A little too early to tell, so we're going to need to see next what this week 4 looks like for the backfield. But it should be okay. I'm not sure. I really don't have an opinion here on Kareem Hunt. I think if H-Chain is out there on your waiver wire and you need to drop candidate, I'm willing to say Kareem Hunt. You could drop Kareem Hunt for Devon H-Chain. That's what I mean. You could see how it plays out, but that's where I'm at on that. Darren Waller. Oh, I marked my words. He would score twice. 5 points. It could be because I have so many shares of him, but I'm still going to say Fluke. And here's why. He has had 2 very hard matchups in his first 3 games. The Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. They was not favorable matchups for Darren Waller, for the Giants' offense in general. That was not good. The game against the Arizona Cardinals, we saw him go for 13.6 fantasy points, and from a tight end, that is what you are hoping for. He's got the touchdown upside at any given time. I still believe in Darren Waller. I believe he had a very rough start as far as his matchups and opponents go. I hope that's the case.
Here's the amazing thing. After all this, he's still tight end 8.
Yeah.
He's still tight end 8 on the season.
And he's still I think he's still top 5 in tight end yards. Or top 5, top 3, something like that. He's still, here's the other thing. He's still the target leader on the team. It is still what we predicted. The passing game is going through him. That is how this is going. Saquon Barkley obviously didn't play, but this is some tough matchups. Buy low. I think, honestly, I'd be willing to buy low on Darren Waller if I was in that situation because I believe the owners are getting really frustrated. I think it's going to be more of the same as they saw last year. I think Darren Waller is a buy low candidate. He will have much better days ahead. I truly believe so.
One last thing. I know we're being thorough with all these players, but it's all Daniel Jones' fault. It's all Daniel Jones' fault.
Yeah.
And I can prove it statistically because he is 29th in passing yards per attempt. 5.79 yards per attempt. That is why they are not succeeding. On third down, Daniel Jones continues to throw it within 4 yards of the first down marker on someone that is in man coverage. It's Daniel Jones' fault. So this will happen more often than we want, but at least we know why. It's not Darren Waller's fault. It's Daniel Jones not throwing the ball down the field. Jalen Hyatt had a goose egg from Thursday night.
Yeah.
He should be getting 5-6 targets, and they should be going down 20, 30 yards down the field. It's Daniel Jones, and that's why. But in the tight end world, as we just prefaced that it's a graveyard, he's still tight end 8. That's better than a lot of other options. So, unfortunately, it's a fluke.
Yeah, it is, and that's Darren Waller better days ahead for sure. Najee Harris 6.5 fantasy points. This is for real, and it's so unfortunate. Jaylen Warren. I believe Jaylen Warren will have the top running back job in Pittsburgh by week 8. Like he will be getting the majority of the snaps. I believe he will be the guy, and this is disappointing for Najee Harris owners. If you drafted him, you were hoping for a lot better, and he is.
One question.
Go ahead.
Do you even leave him on your bench?
I do.
At what point do you just drop him?
I can't drop him because he's still getting 20. He's a running back getting 20 opportunities a game, but he's not an every week starter, and he's a guy that's going to be a bye week fill-in or an injury filler that you're really hoping scores a touchdown. That's my outlook on Najee now. You're hoping he finds the end zone somehow, but Ben Roethlisberger is what made him who he was in his first year.
Yeah,
and it's disappointing to see this play out this way for sure. Not what we hoped for. Jahmyr Gibbs, 9.2 fantasy points, 17 carries, 80 yards, 2 targets, only 1 catch. It's disappointing for sure from Jahmyr Gibbs, but I'm not. He proved to be the guy. I mean, people were talking about Craig Reynolds when David Montgomery was out. Early week for the Lions, so we could see maybe David Montgomery doesn't play again, but even so, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be just fine. 9.2 is not something I'm worried about. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yep.
Few AFC East
Gibbs
players.
is still fine.
Yeah, few AFC East players. Ramondre Stevenson, 7.2 fantasy points. Breece Hall, 3.7 fantasy points. And Garrett Wilson, 9.8 fantasy points. Personally, myself, I'm willing to say these are all fluky. And here's why. Ramondre Stevenson still had 23 opportunities in this game. He was like outproduced by Ezekiel Elliott, but he's still heavily involved. So he'll be fine. I don't know if Trevor Siemian is the answer, but Robert Saleh is going to get fired if he doesn't bring in another quarterback. If he doesn't figure something out. I don't know if it's hey, we're going to see Jameis Winston on display for a week or two. Maybe they make a trade for Jameis Winston. Like maybe when Kyler Murray comes back, the Jets trade for Josh Dobbs. Like if Josh Dobbs is the quarterback for the Jets, if Jameis Winston, I mean, I'll say it, yeah. If Jameis Winston's the quarterback for the Jets right now, they might be 3-0. Like truly, they might have won their last 2 games. Like genuinely, like Zach Wilson is not it, and
Yeah.
It's gross incompetence that Robert Saleh is just still standing there going, Zach's our guy. Yeah, Zach gives us our best chance to win. BS. Like what a hot load of BS. Like no, he doesn't. Like you guys whiffed. Like it's okay. You whiffed, and you were really hopeful because you were excited about Aaron Rodgers, and that's not the case. Anyone right now is going to be better than Zach Wilson. I'll go try out. I'll go try out because
that's a good idea. We should all as trollers go try out and then let us know in the comments how it went. Anyway,
that being said, I think the quarterback situation improves, and I do think that Breece Hall has better days ahead. I think that Garrett Wilson has better days ahead. I think this is.
So you're holding out for another quarterback.
Breece Hall, I think he's a buy low candidate right now. I think Breece Hall owners are mad. And I think he's going to have much better days. He's seeing, I believe he's seeing more opportunities than Dalvin Cook already. And it's just it'll be fine. The Patriots defense is also not bad, so that's a situation as well.
Yeah.
Last few, real quick. Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars offense. Did we all get got?
Huh?
Was week 1 just a lie? I don't know what happened here, but it doesn't look good. I'm not crazy panicked on Trevor Lawrence. There were a handful of these passes that were almost touchdowns. Like they were almost like a touchdown, just a little bit out, just not a full effort by the receiver, whatever. But this is not good. This is not what we were hoping for when you drafted Trevor Lawrence or any of these Jaguars offensive players. Evan Ingram's like the most consistent player outside of Trevor, Travis Etienne. So, sadly, for real, but I think it could improve. They need to figure out what's going on here. It's very strange to see the Texans now own the Jaguars. So.
Yeah, you have to just trust the process because it feels like it will turn around. We just don't know when. And think of what happened last year. Like it turned around halfway through the season, ended up storming their way to an AFC South division title. So it's possible that Trevor Lawrence just needs a couple weeks to kick into that first overall pick gear that he was drafted for, but it's been a rocky start for Jags owners outside of week 1 with Calvin Ridley and then Christian Kirk last week and then this week I don't know. None of them really.
Yeah, nobody.
Jeez.
It's been disappointing. Last three running backs. Before I even tell you who they are, I'm calling all of it for real. Joshua Kelly, Tyler Algier, and Derrick Henry. This is absolutely unbelievable. Especially Derrick Henry, but Joshua Kelly and Tyler Algier. Algier, after week 1, we said he could be a flex play, but Bijan is going to take over. I thought the Bijan takeover was going to be more gradual. It was like, nah, it's week 2. Bijan's the guy. It was like, oh, okay, well, got it. Not nice. There you go. Tyler Algier shouldn't be in lineups. He can be stashed because if something were to happen to Bijan, he will be one of the more valuable handcuffs. So there you go for that. The Miami Dolphins' run defense in week 1 was not good. I think we found our answer. Joshua Kelly
Yeah.
11 carries for 12 yards. Huh?
Gross.
Like what? Like we thought we nailed our call. We were like, Joshua Kelly, we told y'all, sleeper of the year. We've been on this guy for a year now. Yeah. And then it's just been terrible. So Joshua Kelly, I'm calling for real on that. Derrick Henry, 11 carries for 20 yards. He's being outsnapped by Tajay Spears. Like what? Like I don't know what the strategy is here, but I would start Kyron Williams over Derrick Henry next week. Like I'm serious. Like I can't look at this and go, no, I feel good rolling this guy out again. No, you don't. I don't know if it's necessarily a thing where it's like, well, look at the matchup. Well, look at some of the matchups already. Like I don't know. I mean, listen, the Cleveland Browns defense is good. Don't get me wrong. It's a good defense. 11 carries for 20 yards for Derrick Henry. 2 fantasy points. You drafted this guy in the first or second round.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Like it's
a shame, really. Bit of a shame.
Bit of a shame.
So,
bit of a shame.
I mean, look, we before the season started, like right before the Lions Chiefs game, we talked about which coaches we think were going to get fired. I said Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
I'm glad they actually won a football game in week 2, but if this is how their best players performing, who is going to? I mean, will any Titans players be rostered by week 6? I mean, yeah, Derrick Henry will be rostered, but like, this is
maybe Hopkins.
Maybe.
Yeah. He seems like he's pretty done with his time in Tennessee. Like he doesn't seem happy at all.
He's pissed off.
I think we'll see Will Levis at some point. I mean, or Malik
sure
Willis,
will.
or both. I don't know. It's just
at the same time.
It's disappointing. Who did that last year? I can't remember. Who did a toss to a quarterback? I don't know if you remember that or not. Somebody a running back lined up under center and tossed to a quarterback. Or, I don't know. It was weird. Whatever. I think it was the Texans. Anyway,